and welcome back to Savvy Sprocket. It has been a while since I've had a chance to film another video. Have a lot of projects going on, as I've mentioned before. However, our main project at the moment, the Bobcat, still needs to press on. So I've had a chance to come back down to the shop. And today what I'm going to do is continue to assess our issue here. And the biggest problem that I'm having at the moment is identifying where this main hydraulic leak is coming from. As you can see, it's still the drip pan underneath. However, it seems to be running a little bit better now, but it still drips quite consistently, especially once the fluid warms up a bit. It's almost a little bit of a stream that kind of comes out of it. So it's definitely something I have to get fixed before I can actually use it. And the only downside is I cannot for the life of me see where the drip is, where the leak's coming from. It appears that it's coming from back behind the, actually in front of the fan shroud, which is basically behind the kind of first hydrostatic unit, right where the coupling between the hydrostatic and the engine come together. So with that said, I've monkeyed around with it enough, and I've kind of sick of sitting upside down in it and trying to stick my head in there to see what's going on. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull the engine out. It shouldn't be as big of a job. I'm basically just going to have to disconnect all the accessories, take the airbox back off, drain the coolant, take the coolant hoses out, and then for the most part, it's basically just 4 main bolts as the motor itself sits on that sled there. So I'm going to go ahead and start diving into it this morning. Start with the accessories, and then we'll be pulling the engine hopefully in a couple hours. Alright, so I should have all the accessory connections removed, got the radiator drained, and I also went ahead and took out the 4 bolts that are on each corner of the kind of engine tray here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is go grab the engine hoist, and you're supposed to basically slide the whole engine back to kind of decouple it from the spline that hooks up to the hydraulic system. So what I think I'm going to try is throw a couple C-clamps, maybe one on each side, basically over the lips there, just to pull it back vertically, easily with some turns on those clamps, just to try to start the disengagement a little bit easier, and then I'll get a little bit of upward pressure on the engine from the hoist and continue to try to slide it back. Alright, and there we have it. So the engine actually came out pretty easily. You can see it sitting here. It definitely needs a good cleanup, and I have a thought that I may do something different with that fan and to try to remove the whole shroud, just to make access easier on future maintenance. But what we're looking at here is obviously a big mess kind of down on the bottom, which I was expecting. And what it appears is the back of the hydrostatic unit here, and it has that spline on it and right in the shaft that goes in, into the unit itself. And right behind that there's a seal that it looks as if it can come off this direction. There's a little bit of a snap ring. Zoom in here if you guys can see that. Bit of a snap ring right kind of to the right there. So I'm hoping I'm going to get this area all cleaned out, and then hopefully I can just take that seal out and replace it without having to remove the whole unit. Of course, I can definitely do that, but that's just going to be a lot more work with a lot more hose disconnections. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and give it a good clean here. I'll end up probably pressure washing it once I get all the solid material out, and we'll have a much cleaner engine bay when we're all said and done. Alright, so I just got the Bobcat pulled outside in preparation to kind of give the whole thing a pressure wash. As you can see, the driver's side, the left side when you sit in the machine, is pretty stuck. I'm not really sure if that is just because it has fluid back in it, probably, but I'm not sure why one side is stuck more than the other. But I'm going to go ahead and get this kind of cleaned back up here and then pull the pressure washer out to give it a wash. And after all that work, we've finally made it to the back of the hydraulic unit. I'm using just a standard puller with a zip tie for some safety to first pull that spline off the shaft. Next up is to remove the snap ring from around the shaft that's holding the seal in question in place. Sometimes these can be a little bit finicky, but this one wasn't too bad. Just took a couple different tools to pop it off safely. Because there was no easy way to go ahead and pull that seal out itself, I went ahead and just put 2 screws, just basic wood screws, lightly in there, and then was able to pull it right out, as you can see, and a little bit of oil came out with it. Once that old seal was out, the sealing surface looked totally fine, so I went ahead and put a little bit of oil on the new seal and got it lined up to put it back in place. Before putting the new seal back in, I got a couple PVC fittings and a bolt that matches the threads for the end of that shaft to kind of get everything lined up and pull it in nice and smoothly.
What are you doing? So I got you, okay. No, that was off the naval pump. That's the filter. Yeah, for that naval pump. Can I use transfer? Native? Oh, yeah, I use the hydraulic filter. The one that was on the transfer pump. Yep, yeah. Oh. I didn't hear about your mats, I gotta stay outside. Did you try to use some mats? I think I used it. I'm not really sure. Yeah.
As you can hear, there is always some good conversation going on in the background. I have my grandfather always around to help me out, which I'm always very appreciative of, and he's the one that allows me to use his shop, which would make really makes all these projects possible. I went ahead and tapped the seal a little bit further with just a hammer to make sure it was perfectly aligned. Kind of worked it back and forth using the hammer and the PVC fittings. But once it was all aligned, I went ahead and slipped the snap ring back in, and the seal replacement was all set. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to give it a like. Stay tuned for one more video coming on the Bobcat refresh series. Once this machine is back up and running, I'll be refocusing my work on the EV mini truck with more videos to come there. Goodbye for now.